I wanted to make this video to talk about how do you deal with your mental health while you are going through a family crisis. Earlier this year, at the time of this recording, it is currently December 22nd, 2024. By the time this video uploads, it will be roughly January 6th of the new year, 2025. Earlier this year, in March 2024, around March 2024, my grandmother had a mini stroke, and ever since she had her mini stroke, her health just started to decline significantly. Now, my grandmother was 97, and although she was pushing 100, like she was doing really, really well for her age. She was always taking her vitamins. She ate organically while growing up. Like everything she ate was always homegrown. She took really good care of her health. She took really good care of her health, and because she took really good care of her health, I think that is why she made it to 97. My great grandpa, which was my grandmother's dad, lived 1 week short from turning 115, and he was walking around with a cane. So just to give you an example of how strong the genes are, I guess you could say. So my grandmother was pushing 97, but she was very alert. She was very talkative. She can tell you stories from the past, like that happened years and years and years ago, decades ago. And her mind was sharp. Her mind was her mind was healthy, to say the least. And when she ended up having her mini stroke, that is when her health started to decline quite rapidly, where she ended up, of course, having to go to the hospital. She started struggling with standing. She started to begin losing her memory, and at the age of 97, she would lose her memory when it came to her memory started to slip away when it came to people that she didn't see too often. But if you were around her constantly, if you're around her a lot, like the immediate family, she remembered you. She knew your name. She can tell you stories. Like her mind was just healthy, and you can even tell her, like, Grandma, do you remember the time when we went to the lake? Or Grandma, do you remember the time when we would go to the casino? And she would remember, and she'd be like, oh yeah. Or if it was something funny, she would remember, and she would start laughing, which was really cute. But anyhow, I wanted to make this video because how do you deal with going through a family crisis? Like, for example, again, my grandmother's health started to decline. Me and my grandmother were really close. She was more like a second mother to me, because she was, I call her like my second mother to me, because my dad wasn't in the picture. My mother raised us kids on her own. But while my mom was at work, my grandmother lived with us. So while my mom was at work, my grandmother would take care of us. You know, she would make sure we were fed. She would make sure we were clothed. Me having the disability that I have, which is SMA, she would always change me, make sure I'm clean, and make sure I'm fed, and make sure that my needs were met every time my mom wasn't around me, because again, she was at work. So my mom and her grandmother were very close, as you can imagine. Me and my grandmother were very close, as you can imagine. Me and my siblings were very close with my grandmother, because again, she helped raise us. She was with us nearly our entire life, and because again, she lived with us. So seeing her health, to see her go from being healthy, being in the most best way possible, again at pushing 100, again she was 97, and seeing her as healthy as she was, people would even be shocked and amazed by how old she was. People would be like, how old are you? And we would tell them her age, and they'd be like mind blown, like, no way. And my grandmother was born in 1927, so a very long life. She's seen many things. She grew up in tough times, hard times, and despite everything she went through, like, she had a hard life, but she always remained humbled. She always remained kind. She gave generously. She was an amazing woman, to say the very least. So how do you deal with family crisis how do you deal with family crisis? Again, we were close. And seeing her in the hospital, I never realized how much strength it takes to visit somebody in the hospital and seeing them not doing the best. I never realized how much strength it takes to visit that loved one in the hospital, whether it's a family or friend, until I was on the other side of the bed. Meaning, I was always the one inside the hospital being visited. But when the script was flipped, meaning now it was time for me to visit somebody in the bed, being hospitalized, being treated, being cared for, that was a very hard journey. It wasn't the easiest to see. And I tried to hold my emotions as much as possible. I tried to appear stoic as much as possible when I was around her, or when I'd be around the family, or especially around the bedside, because they too are trying to keep it all together, right? And and for someone being in the hospital, like the best thing you want to try to do is try to be as strong as possible, because them seeing you in that state is not the easiest for them, right? So you try to be as strong as possible to kind of keep everything together, try not to break, right? And so how did I deal with my emotions? How did I deal with my mental health within that journey? And for me, fortunately, I say fortunately, and I will explain why in a second. Fortunately for me is when all this was happening, I had my personal brand going, I had other projects going. So because I had multiple things going on for me, professionally, my mind was occupied, my mind was busy. So because I was able to somewhat have a distraction, because I had certain commitments that needed to be done, regardless of how I felt. Certain commitments had to be done. Certain things had to be taken care of during that process. So my mind was occupied. And I say fortunately, because not everybody has something that distracts their mind. They can drown in their own sorrow. They can drown in their own pain. And I understand, when I seen my grandmother going through all this, I understood how some people can spiral. Like I understand 100% how some people can spiral, because while I was going through this process, especially after my grandmother had passed, and my grandmother passed in June, 2 days after her birthday, so she just turned 97. Seeing and going through that process and seeing everything of what it takes, where your grandmother gets picked up, because she ended up passing at her home, and seeing her get picked up and transported to the funeral home, and going through that entire process, and seeing her at the services was not the easiest. It was very difficult. I still have my moments till this day. Excuse me, I'm so sorry I accidentally cut off the video. But it was not the easiest. It was a very difficult and hard process emotionally. And while I was going through this experience, I started to understand. I understand how some people can spiral, how some people can check out in a way. Because especially when you're really, really close to somebody, and that person's no longer there, right? It hurts, and there's just like this hole that you can never fill. How do I keep myself together? Is one, I try to keep myself as busy as possible so my mind is distracted. However, although I do keep myself distracted, and although again I keep myself distracted, it is very important to be mindful that you're also not running away from emotions, but finding a way to cope with them and to deal with them. Now, me personally, I am a man of faith. There was many of life experiences of mine. One in particular where I have this faith that I cannot really describe, but I have this strong, unbelievable faith that, no matter what it is going on, whether it's with me, whether it's with the outside world, or whether it's with a loved one, or anything that's going on, is I just have this faith that, everything will be okay. But in order for it to be okay, I understand that I have to participate in making the necessary steps to help me get through those emotions, to help me get through what I am feeling, how I am feeling, to help me get through whatever it is I am going through. And it's very important for you listening, if you clicked on the video because of due to the title, is it's important to know that it is okay to cry, it is okay to hurt, it is okay to feel the pain, it is okay to grieve. And everybody grieves differently. But what's not okay is letting yourself drown in those sorrows. Letting yourself feel the pain and stay there. Letting yourself, metaphorically speaking, drown. And not try to do your best to swim. Because the one thing that I learned, especially from this experience of losing my grandmother, and also lost an aunt too, I was very, very close to, and that was not the easiest as well. And I lost that was not the easiest as well. It's very important to do your best to do what your loved ones loved to see you do, which is to smile, which is to be happy, which is to see you doing what you love doing. And it's important to remind yourself that while, again, it is okay to grieve, it is okay to cry, it is okay to feel these emotions within this process, within everything you're going through. And you're going to be feeling these emotions probably for your entire life, especially when they are really, really close to you. They meant so much to you. It is okay to feel those emotions. Or it's not okay is to let yourself stay in those emotions, because back to what I was saying is you have to do your best and really, really try to help you get through those emotions, to help you get through what it is you're going through. And you try to keep your mind healthy. You try to keep your faith intact. Again, I am a man of faith. Try to keep your faith intact. Try to, in moments like that, in particular, try to strengthen your relationship with God rather than drift away from God. I know that's hard, and I know that's difficult, especially because there's so many people with many circumstances that it's hard to have that faith with God, to strengthen that faith with God. By you by you helping yourself, you help those who have passed. You help your ancestors. You help your loved ones who again have passed. Because by you helping yourself, you are actually helping them. They love to see you smile. They love to see you happy. They love to see you doing what you set your heart out to do. They love to see that. They smile. They enjoy it because they love you, and they miss you too. But the best way to express that love, and the best way to show that you miss them as well, is to honor their legacy by not staying where you are drowning with your emotions, but by moving forward, helping you through those emotions. I hope this video brought some form of value to and for you. I really hope this video was able to bring some form of healing for you. I know I got a little bit emotional earlier in the beginning of this video, and I am so sorry I accidentally cut off the video. I have this like little clicker where I can like pause and play the camera, so it makes it more convenient, so I don't have to continuously move and and manually stop it. So I accidentally pressed the button. It's that sensitive, which is really cool. I accidentally pressed the button to stop the video. But again, I hope this video was able to bring some form of value to and for you. And please let me know Please let me know within the comments as well what you are doing to help you through your grief. If you lost a loved one, share within the comments, share with each other, share with me as well. Like, how do you get through those emotions? How do you cope with your emotions? And it's try to be there for each other, And as well, I even have my own website, Victortheinspiration.com, where I documented this process from when my grandmother started to fall ill to when my grandmother passed, and what am I doing to help me through those emotions. I even have several blog posts documenting that journey as well. And you can look between the dates of May all the way through like August 8th, I believe it is, of 2024. And if you're interested to see my products, ebooks, digital audios, please head over to becomethevictor.com, where I even have information to help you elevate your mindset, to help you through everything you are going through. I love you. I appreciate you. And remember, grow through what you go through. Much love.